This is one of those questions that really shouldn't be answered without understanding that this may be a real issue for some watching. And so with all the care I can muster, I do want to say, no, it's not okay. I say this as a Christian, knowing that ultimately it isn't how I feel that should be the determinant of what is right or wrong, especially on the most important and sensitive questions like this one. So let me explain why with these two reasons. First of all, it's about the source and sanctity of life. God is seen ultimately as the source of life, all life. However, not only does human life come from Him, but human beings also uniquely reflect God. We are created in God's image, which means that every human being possesses the infinite value of sacredness. It says God's the source of all human life. Only He has the right to take human life, except in the case of personal defense or when a nation's authorities aim to protect the lives of their citizens, is the taking of human life by another human biblically sanctioned. This isn't the case in the normal human process of dying, even when it is painfully and unbearably extended. Secondly, accepting we can end someone's life because of pain and suffering assumes that because we cannot see any reason for pain and suffering, there cannot be one. Whereas over and over in the Bible, we see that though God is not the primary originator of pain and suffering, by that I mean He didn't create a world with pain and suffering, He nonetheless uses them to teach us many things. For example, although Joseph's brothers caused him to suffer because of their evil intentions, God used the same suffering for good. Romans 5:3-4 says, God uses our suffering to produce perseverance and character. Many of us have become more empathetic and resilient through the suffering we've dealt with. It is true that we cannot know the why of all suffering, but we do know that suffering in God's world is ultimately never meaningless. But the passage also says that it produces hope. That is the anticipation of when God recreates the world without suffering. This was achieved through Jesus' death. On the surface of things, Jesus' suffering was concocted in evil, meaningless, and undeserved. True, but Acts 4:27-28 shows that though motivated by human evil, it was also according to God's plan. God used Jesus' suffering as the means through which He would end all suffering in this world, and He proved this through Jesus' resurrection, beautifully explained in Romans 8:17-18. While I know this may be a very difficult answer for some, it's not coming from an unempathetic place. Rather, it's because God says all lives are sacred. Pain and suffering aren't meaningless because He uses them ultimately and defeats them through Jesus Christ.